You'd be surprised at just how many men's fashion myths are still floating around in 2025. And no, I'm not talking about these outdated rules like don't wear navy and black together, or you must match your belt and your shoes together. I mean these big misconceptions people still believe today, the ones that could actually be holding your style back. With so much fashion discourse flying around online, advice often does come from a good place, but you'll find very often it's contradictory. I can see why you guys out there, if you are just starting out, get overwhelmed or just overload yourself with so much information that it kind of just sucks all the fun out of why you started dressing better in the first place for you. So in this video, I'll be busting the biggest myths in 2025 men's fashion discourse, breaking down where these styles come from, what actually works, at least in my mind, and just generally how to avoid wasting your time and your money like I did when I first got into this whole fashion thing. And I really want this to be very conversational. So if at any point you agree or disagree, or just have more nuanced knowledge to add to any of these topics I'll be talking about, please feel free to do so in the comments below. I'll be the first to put my hand up and say I don't know all there is to know about these things, and that way everyone can learn together, including me. Alright, starting off strong, and really this is the misconception that made me want to make this video, because I see it being parroted nearly every day. And myth one is that wearing all black will make you look taller. This is just practically and fundamentally not true. Let me show you two outfits. One is all black, the other is just a typical color combination. Tell me who you think appears taller here. Both are shot from the same angle. There's no fancy camera trickery going on here. I mean, it's obviously the second outfit, right? All black fits definitely can create very clean silhouettes that do slim your body. Black absorbs more light than reflecting it, which does make your outfit appear slimmer, but in my mind, it has literally nothing to do with making you look taller. If your pants are pulling at your shoes and your torso layer is too long that you lose your waist, it really doesn't matter what color you're wearing. Even if it is all black, it's still going to shorten your frame. The real practical way to appear taller is literally just to get a pant with a higher rise and combine that with a torso layer that has a shorter length. That's it. It makes your legs look longer, it balances your proportions nicely, and does, in my mind at least, genuinely make me look taller. If you want more information about this, I did do a dedicated video about torso lengths a few weeks ago, so go and check that out. Second myth today, and this is one that I hear all the time, just tell me you haven't seen this before. What's up guys, little outfit of the day today. I've never really seen anyone put anything together like this before, so let me break it down for you. This definitely is a bit of me, this one. Up top we got the heavyweight Shein t-shirt, really nice heavyweight, heavy GSM, really good quality. On bottoms we got the heavyweight. My FYP algorithm for some reason thinks all that I care about is GSM, because all I see is people going on about it and how their stuff is just super high quality. If you haven't got it by now, the second myth is that high GSM equals good quality. GSM, for those that don't know, means grams per square meter, and it is the way in which the weight or the denseness of a fabric is measured. Higher GSM just equals heavier fabric. Brands love to rave about their heavyweight tees or their ultra heavyweight hoodies as if it's just some ultimate sign of quality. GSM has kind of become a buzzword now, and I do think a lot of people actually believe this myth. High number must mean good piece of clothing, right? And then they just spell it off themselves. In fact, I would even say the opposite is true nowadays. A lot of brands know it's a good way to pull in uninformed customers, and they even use it as an excuse to produce their garments with even worse construction quality as long as the fabric feels heavy. Really, it's just a massive oversimplification of what makes a piece of clothing good quality. And it's not even universal, because some people don't even like heavyweight fabric. So if that goes, what else does your brand offer, you know? If I was really thinking of how I would objectively define a good piece of high quality clothing, GSM would only really make it into the conversation within specific use cases, I think. It is definitely not a general indicator of good quality like many people believe. Whilst we're here actually, I do just want to talk about a few other tricks that brands will pull to try and get you to spend your hard-earned money on their mediocre items. The third myth is that softness is a good indicator of quality. I hear this all the time in high street stores. Oh, I love this jumper, it's so soft. It must be really good quality. And I'm sat there looking at the tag like 100% polyester, 6% elastic. Say it with me, just because it's soft doesn't mean it's been made with any sort of care. A lot of brands achieve that super soft, silky hand feel nowadays by using chemical washes or fabric blends that make the material feel soft right away. And polyester or synthetics are used so much to achieve this. They can be spun incredibly thin so a fabric feels super soft and buttery, or it can be woven to replicate even the softest merino wool. If you do come across something that feels super soft, be sure to check the fabric construction, the weave tightness, and the internal stitch work too. Moving on, and I wasn't even going to include this one because it kind of feels like common knowledge now, especially with all the recent allegations that have come out about a certain ultra luxury brand. People are really just starting to see behind the curtain. The fourth myth is, of course, that higher prices equals better quality. On the surface, it makes sense, right? You'd assume that if something costs more or costs a lot of money, it must be decent quality, at least in terms of construction, materials, and the people that have put this piece together have been fairly compensated for their knowledge, their skills, and their time. But the fashion industry in 2025, it doesn't really work that way. So many big brands are so optimized to squeeze as much profit out of every single stage of production as possible, and yet they still charge thousands for their product. In reality, I've kind of come to the conclusion that what you're paying for a lot of high-end luxury brands has very little to do with the actual construction quality or just the raw materials of the garment itself. You're paying for the logo on the tag, the slick marketing campaign, the celebrity or influencer endorsements, the rent for those flagship stores in Paris, London, Milan, and Tokyo, of course. You're pretty much paying for everything apart from the item itself. Now, don't get me wrong, there are a few luxury brands that I at least genuinely believe to invest in better materials, good craftsmanship, and ethical production. Bottega Veneta is instantly one that comes to mind, but the key nowadays is definitely to spot when you're paying for actual good quality craftsmanship versus when you're just lining some CEO's pockets. Okay, last little clothing quality myth I want to touch on. It does kind of tie in with the previous one, and it is that country of origin is an indicator of good quality. We've all heard the stereotypes, right? Made in Italy means luxury, made in Japan means high quality construction, made in China means cheap. And brands love to use country of origin labels as shorthand for good quality, when in reality, production standards vary massively even within the same country. Sure, some of the best tailoring in the world still comes out of Italy, but that same made in Italy tag could just be easily slapped on a mass-produced t-shirt made with imported fabric using rushed or even illegally unpaid labor. And likewise, countries like China or Vietnam, which people do unfairly dismiss, are home to some of the most advanced textile factories and skilled craftspeople in the industry. China in particular has been producing clothing on such a large scale for such a long time. Of course, some of those factories who do produce those higher quality pieces, those are going to be incredibly good quality. The real question here is how it was made, not where it was made. I will say though, I'm currently in the process of creating a sort of ultimate guide on how to find high quality pieces, all the telltale signs and things to look for every piece of clothing. If that sounds good to you, make sure you subscribe so you don't miss it. Or on the topic actually, here is another reason why country of origin is nothing more than marketing jargon. Misconception 6 is just because the tag says made in insert fancy luxury country here does not mean it was actually 100% made in that country. Sometimes it means that the very final steps of production happen there, just enough that the brand can sneak around any local trademark laws. Anyone remember the Jound and Adidas Sambas that were made in Germany? I think they came out last year. They were marketed as this like super well made, almost luxury version of the Samba, crafted in Germany and sold for over like twice the price of a regular Samba. But in some online leaked videos, people spotted those same Jound uppers with made in Vietnam tags that had just been shipped to Germany to be finished. They were just ripping off those old tags, sewing in the made in Germany tags, as well as lasting them and gluing on the soles. Probably about 10 to 15% of the total work that it takes to create that shoe. I have to read you some of the marketing jargon Jound used to sell these pairs, because after you realize they're just the same old made at Vietnam Sambas, just at the last second glued together in Germany, you can't not laugh. Adidas and Jound kick off their new collaborative partnership with two takes on the iconic Samba, crafted in Adidas' Scheinfeld factory in Germany. More than meets the eye, however. Each pair is dutifully crafted with the highest levels of attention to detail. Each pair is crafted in Adidas' Scheinfeld factory by dedicated artisans. Oh my god, man. These brands just don't give a... they don't care. They will say and do anything to get you to purchase these items, spend more of your money thinking that you're getting a superior product. And this is just one documented example. This is probably happening so much globally, and I dread to think about it because we just don't know. Brands know that country of origin labels carry weight in consumers' minds, and they will absolutely exploit loopholes in labeling laws to keep or push that air of high quality, and in some cases, kind of fleece you out of your money. Okay, misconception 7, and it is that choosing natural materials over something like synthetics is a more eco-friendly choice. This one's absolutely everywhere online, and brands love to push this because they know that a lot of people do care about sustainability, even if they're not making any real effort to contribute to that. I'm not going to go into like tons of detail now because it could be an hour-long video on its own, but I will say not all natural fibers are created equal, and I really encourage you to go and do your own research on the topic. There's actually an amazing TED Ed video I watched a few years ago. I think it's called Life of a T-shirt or something. I'll link it down below. It shows you the environmental impact a single cotton tee has throughout its lifetime. It is eye-opening to say the least. The big specific sort of natural material misconception I want to focus on in this video video is to do with leather. A lot of people do understand nowadays that most vegan leather is just marketing BS. It's plastic stitched onto a backing fabric, which is also made of plastic. It falls apart, and once it does, it looks awful and it can't be repaired. Probably one of the worst fabrics you could buy anything in. And so a lot of people now are returning back to leather as this natural or more durable kind of eco-friendly version, but that could not be further from the case. From the start, cattle farming is already hugely resource intensive, but the real misconception I want to talk about stems from the tanning process. More than 90% of leather used in fashion is chrome tanned, aka it's treated with these things called chromium salts and other heavy chemicals. The runoff is highly toxic for waterways, dangerous for workers, and damages local ecosystems. And here's the main misconception, and this is one that I didn't actually know until, I don't know, a few years ago. Because of that chemical tanning, the majority of commercial leather used in fashion is not naturally biodegradable at all. It doesn't just return to the earth like many brands would have you believe. It's really just the same as any other plastic-based vegan leather. It just sits in landfills for decades, slowly leaching harmful chemicals into the local environment. Here's where I would typically give you my option or answer to this kind of question, but I don't really have an answer because it is so complex and messy. But there are better options, at least in my mind, and those are vegetable tan leather products. This is leather that has been tanned with plant-based tannins, avoiding the use of any carcinogenic, toxic, heavy chemicals like chromium tanning. One famous example I could use that you guys probably know of are the Our Legacy camion boots, particularly in the brown color. I've seen so many people confused as to why they're called olive leather when they're not green, they're brown. Well, it's because they're vegetable tanned using olives. Vegetable tanning is definitely not a perfect fix though. It's much more expensive, it's more time intensive, and again, it does take decades to biodegrade, but I will say it is at least a little better in my mind because when it is biodegrading, it does so without leaching any harmful chemicals into the local environment, as well as being much safer for tannery workers to work on and surrounding ecosystems. Lots of waffle, but I guess my main point is really that this idea of sustainability in 2025 fashion is so complex and just so messy, and brands love to oversimplify it for marketing, and they really bank on you not knowing all of the information. Fashion misconception 8 now, and we're finally talking about trends. This is really two misconceptions in one, just on either side of a spectrum, and it is that obsessing over trends or completely ignoring trends benefits your style. On one end, you've got people absolutely obsessed with every single micro trend currently going on, chasing whatever sneaker is hot this month, hunting down the latest designer collabs, going into Liberties and trying on all the new expensive clothing on the day that they drop. Maybe that was just me. But on the other end, you've got the trends are awful people. Don't wear trends. Don't even mention that word around me. I've been in both of these crowds before. When I first got into fashion, trends were really the source of a lot of joy for me. There was new stuff dropping every week. Everything was kind of new to me, and I was really engrossed in that. After a few years, I shifted to the other side of the spectrum where I kind of view trends as pointless. I was very much into heritage menswear, classic Americana, Japanese workwear, that kind of thing. But after a while, I had found a lot of the pieces that I wanted. I kind of got bored. My style felt rigid, and even though all these items were really cool, really well made, and really high quality, nothing excited me when I opened my wardrobe in the morning, you know? So in my experience, the correct way to interact with trends is somewhere in between. And this is really the philosophy that I've had for the past few years. I've built my wardrobe around these very versatile sort of classic staples pulled from genres that I love. And then if I come across a trend that I do really like the look of, I kind of selectively add it in to complement my personal taste and my already existing wardrobe. That way I kind of know what is going on in the world of trends, but I'm definitely not over obsessing over it, trying to buy into every single micro trend. And I found it's really just the perfect blend for me. Fashion misconception 9, it is that straight copying pieces or influencers' style equals good style for you or even good fit for you. This one I learned the hard way. We've all seen our favorite influencer or celebrity wear something and it just looks amazing on them, right? You might purchase the same exact item, size up or down for your size, and it just looks horrible on you. I feel in the modern day for fashion, this has to be a canon event for everyone. I would say if you are genuinely looking for new things to wear or new things to add to your wardrobe, you need to be a little bit more critical about who you're getting direct inspiration from. One of the biggest things that changed the game for me is to find people who you think dress well, who are a similar height and body type to you. This is really amazing for finding new brands that will fit you and just getting your sizing down. It is so much easier to purchase clothes that you like the fit of if you are getting inspiration inspiration from people who are built similarly to you. Everyone's body is different, and even if we size up or size down in a piece, it can still end up fitting completely differently on your body. Also, I have to say, finding people who have a similar hair color to you or similar skin color to you is like absolutely amazing. I use this really for color combinations and just general types of outfit ideas rather than specific pieces. I know that if a color combination works really well on someone who has similar features to me, those colors will also very likely work for me too. The key is really to take inspiration though, not 100% copy them. I would recommend focusing more on adapting those ideas to fit your body type and your style instead of just straight one-to-one copying their pieces or what they're wearing. Okay, final misconception I want to discuss, and this is probably the biggest one of the whole video. It is that polyester immediately equals terrible. Polyester, I think, has become another buzzword in the fashion space where people see it and they just immediately write off a piece of clothing. And overall, I think it is a step in the right direction generally, if you do want to be more sort of conscious about your clothing and what they're constructed of. But I will say writing it off completely is way too simplistic. Okay, I'm not here to defend the use of polyester or any other synthetic material used in everyday clothing. It genuinely does my head in to see so many brands that I love use it so off to the guests when they just absolutely don't need to, just to cut corners and keep profit margins as high as possible. But it's not that simple. There are plenty of specific use cases where polyester or synthetics should be used to make a functional piece of clothing. In technical wear like waterproof jackets or things like performance sportswear, polyester is light, super durable, moisture wicking, and it just generally keeps its shape a lot better through tough conditions. Think of things like ripstop fabrics, for example. They're specifically engineered with things like polyester to make them super hard wearing and make outdoor gear last much longer. That, in my mind, is polyester doing exactly what it should be doing in clothing, serving a functional purpose. I saw a creator online fighting for her life in the comments of her video. She had just grabbed a beautiful pleats fleece dress from Issey Miyake and she was hyped. I think she got it like secondhand or something, but there were so many people commenting things like, oh, it's so pretty, but it's 100% polyester. I think I'll pass. This is really what I'm talking about, where people unfairly dismiss the use of polyester without considering the context. When employed thoughtfully, with attention to quality, and most importantly, with a functional purpose, polyester, at least to me, can be a valuable material in fashion. I always think to myself, if I see something that has polyester in it, what is the purpose of the polyester here? Polyester must have a purpose, other than keeping profits as high as they can be. Well, there we go, 10 of the most popular fashion misconceptions in 2025. Let me know any other fashion myths you guys have heard, maybe ones that you think I've missed here. Also, I'd love to know your thoughts about any of the myths I've talked about today. If you did enjoy or you learned something, make sure to drop a like and subscribe too, as it really helps the channel out. If you're new here and you're after more content from me, YouTube thinks you'll love this video here, so go and check it out. Thank you for watching, guys. I'm sorry about not uploading last week. I was actually at a funeral for one of my family members, but hopefully now we're back to weekly uploads. I hope you have a wonderful week though. I'll see you in the next one. See you then.